And we're all live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect, because people on Facebook really need to understand that if you're going to make an argument, you should really follow through. And if you just shut the hell up when you're in a losing position, you're still in a losing position. Everybody saw it. Good job. Part of this is follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that. Shujin. Yeah, we're a little down on hosts at the moment. Not quite wild. Fill you in a couple of moments. Starting south of me tonight, over into Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Joey. Yeah, that mute button's around there somewhere.
Yeah. Morning. Yeah, I keep myself muted at the start just so that, no extraneous noises.
Fair enough. And from not exactly home and outside of Washington, D.C., where, oh my God, people are still with a job sometimes or thrown under. How many people have been thrown under a bus this week, do you think, by the way, Tech? Good morning. I know at least one.
Not enough from Capitol Hill, anyway. I'd like to see a certain Oompa Loompa get thrown under a bus. Proverbially speaking, mind you, because yes. I don't want to visit from those men in black because, frankly, the shades just don't do it for me, guys. Try a headband, some little ears, and maybe a pink Speedo, and dude, you got me hard,
Really didn't need that tonight. Thanks ever so much.
Well, I wanted to make sure that if they're going to come knocking on my door, at least they come prepared.
Let me just illustrate the spectrum here. Dalan and Heretic Woman can openly say whatever they want on that subject. You, as an American citizen living near Washington, D.C.,
who also happens to work on a military base,
in a post-Patriot Act America, probably shouldn't say it. Me, being a veteran, they throw my ass in prison.
Well, you're allowed to say it as long as it's understood that you're not saying it as a representation of the government, but as of your own personal opinion.
Well, as far as that's concerned,
like I said, proverbially speaking under the bus, not actually throwing them under the bus.
Although, yeah, you know what? I'll just leave it there right now. So here's the deal, guys. Heretic Woman is not with us right now, and I forgot that she's not supposed to be. Yay. Dalan got in touch with me earlier, and he's sick as a dog. Sorry, man. You take care of yourself. Now, that leaves us with two other people. Brigid and Joseph. I don't know where you are. I don't know where you are.
Well, we know what's involved with Joe making coffee, so,
We do. And
you've got to squeeze it.
When we find you, we will get you on this show again. And you will hope that I'm nice about it. Because I will dock your pay. Oh, yes.
0 minus 0 is... Damn.
Don't start the whole divide by zero. Don't do the whole divide by zero thing. Don't do that to me right now.
Dude, it's really hard. I can't math this way.
Don't do... Anyway, we'll do it. Anyway, for those of you that are live, by the way, hi, welcome to the show, and thank you for tuning in. Joshua, yes, it is I. Right now, you're the only one on. So if you are watching live, of course, please take advantage of the live chat system. It's somewhere on your screen for you. I don't know where it is. It's right there. I don't know where it is. Don't worry about it. Don't use my fingerprint biometric, whatever the hell. It doesn't work. So before we get rolling, For whomever actually might be watching at the moment, which doesn't appear to be too many people. Oh well, whatever. We'll see what happens. I have
less than a week away from Cinco de Mayo, so you know.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. That's true. So I have a question, and I'm posing it to all of you, which means that the hosts and whomever is watching at the moment, yes, I figured as much. You get to figure out what my beer of choice is going to be this week, because I'm getting back to doing that again.
We'll see.
No. I picked another 12. Another 6 from the pick and choose from the local place around over here. So here are the choices tonight from the can department: coffee porter, 12 gates. All right,
like 12 gates of hell.
Could be UFO pineapple. Yes. Yes.
Wait, is that a cider or a beer? Because I had a pineapple cider that was to die for.
This luscious Hefeweizen bursts with tropical flavor. I'm not quite sure. It's got a 5.2 alcohol. It's a beer. We'll go with that. And I've always said that I wanted to try a Guinness, so I found a Guinness Stout Draft.
Yeah, you might want to save that for another day. That's going to be
the tan can.
It's a white can. It's a
it's. I say it's 10, but you know, whatever. But not the classic black bottle with the gold harp on it. Okay, you probably should have started with, you know, Guinness Classic before going up to the stout.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just reading it. All right. So from the glass collection, however, we have the world's oldest brewery, Premium Bavaricum, original premium. This is Weihenstephaner. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's German. I don't know. We'll go with that.
Bring it back up.
The Weihenstephaner. Weihenstephaner.
Never heard of it.
Wiener Stephanie? What?
I was hoping seeing the label would help me recognize it. This is the only reason why I say I recognize it is because I've had a fairly we like to think ourselves the multinational connoisseurs of
liquid bread, yes,
of brewed alcohol.
Liquid bread, right? All right.
I still say it looks like Wiener Steven.
Our major contingent being from America, Germany, and the wonderful folks down in Australia.
I'm here. I'm late to the party because reasons, but I'm here.
Well, thank you.
Are you drunk?
You're welcome. Am I talking? Let me see if my webcam.
No. Are you? Yes, you're talking. You're fine. Are you drunk?
I can hear you loud and clear, Brigid. It's just Joe messing with you.
Okay, please.
Throw a keyboard at him.
Well, no drop a llama card has been thrown down on my wall, and I'm serious.
Okay. So let me recap, because you're part of this also.
Yeah.
For the beer collection tonight, from the cans, 12 Gates of Hell coffee, UFO pineapple.
It's been stimulated.
We've got Guinness Draft Stout. Draft, sure, whatever.
It's draft. What? It depends on the damn.
I've never seen that can before.
Yeah. This is the one that we just got to. The
Wiener Steven. It's liquid. It's liquid dick.
Weihenstephaner.
I can actually have my husband come in and look at the bottle and translate if he would like a direct translation.
It doesn't mention that.
Watch it translate into Steven's Wiener.
Probably would.
From Goose, Fulton Street, this is another coffee. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because I was not sure about this one, and I thought this should prove to be interesting. Blue Moon Belgian White.
That one's good if you have an orange. Do you have an orange?
Yes.
I do.
Because you actually want to put orange into that beer.
What you're trying to say is that it reacts well with citric acid.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Or does it kind of resemble one of those dreamsicles, the orange vanilla thing? I don't know.
Idea. Again, this is another one of those things. I've never tried any of this stuff before.
Yeah.
I'm trying. We will see. And Trippin just made it. Hey, Trip. So you guys are going to help out on this one. Trip, just for you, another one. All right, for those of you that are listening, you might want to like fast forward about 10 seconds. Trip, this is just for you. From the cans tonight, 12 Gates, coffee. From UFO, pineapple. From Guinness, Drach. From the glasses, Weinstuffer. From Goose, Fulton, another coffee. And shut up. And from Blue Moon, Belgian white. It is actually white inside the bottle, as far as I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys try and figure all the stuff from here, and we'll see what happens. And troll, hopefully not truth in advertising, so to speak.
Right.
Because I mean, I don't want you to be, walking around with green face and big ears and talking like Mike Myers, because that would be sad, really.
Yeah, it would. I have a cousin who's actually quite clever at marketing and doing quite well. I could probably learn from her.
Fair enough. So you guys will be able to try to figure out what you want me to try out drinking tonight, and we'll kind of work it from there.
Well,
but otherwise,
I was just going to say that, honestly, I don't know who the hell owns it nowadays, but Dr. Pepper from Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, that's all well and good, but you know what Dr. Pepper tastes like. I've been trying to find a beer that I like. Other than that, Angry Orchard, which was good stuff. Yeah, I'm trying stuff again. I'm getting back to that. So,
if you ever get the chance, Elliot Ness from Great Lakes.
I think I saw that one.
Great Lakes makes good beer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
The Blue Moon, I don't drink beer, but Blue Moon, that is the first beer that Bill Robbins bought for me the first time that we met in person in Memphis. And it was actually quite tasty. I don't like beer, but I enjoyed that one.
Okay. Well,
not all beers are created equal.
True that.
Yeah.
All right. So we will see. We'll see what I'm going to try out. So you guys have a little bit to help out with this. TDTF, I am too drunk to taste this chicken. Why don't you just try grabbing some of the eels out of your hovercraft? It'll go easier. We'll figure it all out from there. So you guys can kind of discuss for yourselves. You guys over in the live chat, go ahead and do whatever it is that you want to do and try and figure it out from there. And we'll see after I get done with my opening what we're gonna have me try out tonight. However, let me get everything rolling because it's kind of one of those things. With 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. Labeled off as thanks, Bob. We know full well that Chad's an asshole. We don't like Chad. Chad's an asshole. But we like Bob. We lost Bob. For those of you that don't know about it, from the last time that we were on the air, we lost Bob Darrel from a little TV series you might have heard about, Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
Bob Darrel was the guy who wrote a good majority of the music. It sang on a lot of it too. And if you want to know who Bob was the guy who sang, amongst others, Elementary, My Dear. And he was the one who sang 3 is a Magic Number. His voice was not what you would exactly call classic style. He was not exactly the cleanest of singers, speaking as somebody who knows a little something about music. But he did something that few people can argue with. He did something that was impressive, delicious, that was, in some ways, exactly what we would want from people who are in a position to do. He taught. He was challenged with the idea of trying to find a way of having kids memorize information without realizing they were memorizing it. The idea was originally that, somebody's kid was able to remember every damn word of a song that was popular in the day, but couldn't remember the stuff that he needed to learn for school. Multiplication tables, for one. Nobody likes to go through it because, it's rote, because there's no other way of doing it. You just have to memorize it. And ABC at the time, that was an independent group, the American Broadcasting Company, before it was owned by Disney, got in touch with one of their advertising groups in New York City and said, this is what we want to do. So, okay, let's see what we can do about that. And Bob got to work, and he wrote 3 is a magic number. And they took it, and they animated it, and they said, okay. And they did it. Starting from when I was 4 years old, 1973, man. And it's stuff that I can still remember to this day, even without having referred to the music itself. Schoolhouse Rock is one of those things that, yeah, there is a section of it that is specifically about America and American history. So it doesn't exactly translate out to all the other countries. But come on, man. Science rock, multiplication rock, grammar rock. Dude, there is stuff that they taught us that who knew that you could get this through to kids, where they would be looking forward to learning on a Saturday morning, looking through TV Guide when it was still, the thing to get, and check and see what time is it going to be on. Okay, it's going to be on at 9:55 a.m. Got to tune into ABC. Got to remember, set the clock, set the alarm, make sure that you're over there for it. All right, I'm ready. What's it going to be this time? What's it going to be this time? What's it going to be? Oh, Victim of Gravity. All right, 1950s. Here we go. Pompadour coming down. If you've seen these, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And these were on the air from the 70s. Man, Bob was not the prettiest face. Bob was not the most beautiful of singers. And he might not have had an exceptional career in music as far as to commercial. But man, he helped teach a generation, and then another, and then another. If you don't have a copy of one of the anniversary editions of Schoolhouse Rock, I don't care what country you're in, you deserve it for yourself. Seriously. It's good stuff. Bob, as somebody who learned a lot because of you, thank you. And I wish you were still alive, because I would love to ask, how the hell were you able to take the Declaration of Independence and set it to music? How the hell did you manage that? On behalf of kids that you will never know, thank you. This is episode 209 on the docket, Your Honor. Learned something new this week. Yeah. It wasn't good stuff. It really wasn't. You might remember I will be nice for the moment. A gentleman drove a van over a bunch of people up in Toronto this past week, killed 10 of them, because he claimed to be part of a group called Incell, which translates to involuntary celibacy, because couldn't get a date, wasn't able to have sex with some woman or other, and basically he took it out on society. We're not talking about Incell, because we can pretty well agree for the most part that it's ludicrous. But what we're going to talk about is the level of, what was the word that I used for it before again? Fanaticism. It's the only word that I could come up with for it. What this level of fanaticism does to people, does to society, and we're gonna use that Torontonian disaster as a touching stone and kind of go from there. So we'll be dealing with some stuff that's probably going to be a little uncomfortable, but welcome to the show. That's what we do. Now, normally, I would go ahead and toss over to, so to speak, Heretic Woman for your update about Rafe Badawi. Unfortunately, she's not going to be here, and Dalan gave me some information yesterday, which was great, but he's not here to go ahead and share it. So, Dalan, I'm stealing your thunder, and tough shit, man. Stop getting sick. Whatever. Apparently, the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has put out more official word to Saudi Arabia to basically say, look, we'd really, really like to see how much you guys are really pushing for, being real good with all the humanitarian stuff. So it'd be really nice if you were to, let some of these people out of prison and get them out of your country. Specifically like Rafe Badawi, because, we'd love to have him come visit for the remainder of his natural-born life. So that's back on the official channels again. It's not stuff that's been repeated. It's new, so that's good. Unfortunately, we don't have any real word as to what the Crown Prince is doing just yet. So as usual, we have to kind of sit and wait. So with that in mind, as of the recording of tonight's show, this now marks 5 years, 10 months, 11 days since Rafe Badawi was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime. Our thoughts and our hopes are still with you and your family, man. We're still waiting. So anyway, so before we go ahead and get rolling with everything, let me take a quick look over in the chat and find out, was anybody saying anything as far as to what they suggest that I have? Let's see. Original Mountain Dew was to be mixed with gin or whiskey. You know what? I don't know. I don't drink this. Beer is good, especially Blue Moon was suggested. Troll, thank you.
The answer to that original question is yes.
Big help. Thank you. Absolutely. We appreciate that. Let's see.
My answer is if you want something that's basically not going to be too heavy for you, and it's not going to be too, I would extremely hesitate to recommend the Guinness at this time of night for you, because it's just going to hit you like a ton of bricks with the malty and hot flavor, all whatever. Hit the Blue Moon. Go relax and hit the Blue Moon.
Okay, so we will see. You know what, TD, I will. All right, just for you, TD, I will throw them all up one more time, just so you can see and have, because I'm leaning towards the Blue Moon itself. What Tech was making reference to was the Guinness. So that was the one, and we're always on at the same time. It doesn't matter, whatever it's going to be. From UFO, there was a pineapple beer. Yes, it's beer. From 12 Gates, a coffee. Porter. From the Glass Collection, the Goose Fulton, also a coffee. The Bavarian, we can stop whatever I don't care, whatever, Weizenheimer, and the one that's apparently the high on the list at the moment, Blue Moon Belgian White, which is actually white inside the bottle. So there you go. So that's what we got to need the orange. See, Trippin's saying it now. You got, dude, don't do that. Anyway, so we'll give it a couple moments and let that float through to all of you guys, and we'll kind of run it from there. So let's start off with the quick and dirty question for everybody. Good Lord, seriously? Oh God. For those of you that don't know, we have our own text chat, and all of a sudden there is a wall of text that just came up on the side of the screen for me. So yeah, I don't know if that was supposed to be copy and paste like that, but yeah. Okay, great.
Got the message.
Yeah, I can't go and read the whole damn thing right now, so too long didn't read. Sorry, that's the job of the host right now. We'll see how that works out. So let's start off with the first question of the whole damn thing. Besides me having read the article and heard about it and whatnot, Joe, I know that you said that you didn't know about the story until just a couple minutes before air.
Yeah, I suppose you could say I'm a little jaded with news as of late, and I just have better things to do with my time. But yeah, this was news to me. And we're to go even further, before even reading about this, I'd never heard of anything such as Incell or anything of that sort.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same way that I was when I heard about this one. And Tech, I know for that you're muted out because you got stuff going on, so don't worry about it.
I'm here. No, I'm just chopping onions right now. I'm actually a frequent, avid user of Reddit. So much so I actually have different dedicated Android applications for Reddit for different reasons. I am a nerd. Hi, I'm a nerd. My name's UnrenownedTech. And I've heard of Incel because I'm a part of I'm an egalitarian, to keep it short and sweet. And I've heard of them. I've visited their forum, or subreddit as it's technically called. I've read basically what they're trying to put together in form of a manifesto of sorts. And listen, guys, to anybody who's proclaims to be a member of this community, I am not a handsome person. Okay. I have huge body issue images. I fight obesity and lose much of the time. I've got a lot of things going on that just do not make me an attractive person. But I came across somebody who loves me for my mind. You have to reprioritize what you're looking for in a significant other when it comes to having them attract to you. Yeah, you might have physical attraction to a supermodel, but they may only be attracted to other supermodels, or they may only be attracted to people with money, or they may only be attracted to somebody who has a beard or no beard or earring or whatever. The case in point is that you're going to have and I've said this before and gotten kicked out with secondary accounts that I've created for the reason, for saying that you're going to live a much happier life if you find somebody who's just going to love you for who you are. Instead of trying to make your life reflect like one of those assholes on television.
Well,
unfortunately, you can't tell people that who have a particular mindset. It's a very toxic environment. There's a lot of parroting of mindset. There's a lot of when it comes to thinking for yourself, unless it goes along the lines of what they want you to agree with, it's discouraged. It's like, oh, wait, what's that word you used? Fanaticism. Oh, yeah, that thing.
See, this is something that's kind of difficult for me to grasp because, and I imagine it may have something to do with the fact that during those formative years of late teens, early 20s, where most folks are, thinking about hooking up and hanging out and, college life and so on and so forth, I was more focused on just staying alive.
Yeah,
But
that will give you a different perspective, Joe. Really, a big different perspective.
For me, I wouldn't call myself involuntarily celibate. I ain't have to be as blunt as possible. I ain't been laid in a period that can be measured in years, but that is a personal choice. And plain and simple, I know this is probably going to tick somebody off, but boy, I just cannot stress the merits of masturbation. You would be amazed at what a great stress reliever it is.
There is actually a sex doctor who's got a podcast. What's his name?
Dr. Ruth.
No. No. I'm talking about there's one of the secular doctors.
Dr. Ray.
Dr. Darrel Ray. That's the one. He even, he's in the industry, and he even tells you, what, rub one out, folks. You need it. You got rid of that stress.
Yep. Yeah. Brigid, what's one of his favorite opening lines with people?
Have you had an orgasm today?
No. Wait for it.
Right now, I'm trying to actually remember. I know it. I see it in my head. It's hard to get it out, but it is funny. When's the last time? God, I do know this. I'm just having some.
In the chat.
I mean, I know, but it's not coming out, and I see it in my head.
I have that same problem all the time.
Right.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We just had a phrasing issue that I didn't point out. Yeah, moving on.
Speaking of points.
Needs more Velcro.
But, I will say that, hey, if nothing else, it does make for a good short cardio.
Okay.
It does.
Yeah. So,
Brigid, you're the medical professional. You can back me up on this.
I will back you up on that. And that applies to, both men and women. It can relieve tension and headaches and stress. I don't know.
I can definitely say it helps with the stress.
I mean, it can cause headaches. It just depends on your body's reaction at the time and various factors. People are on a spectrum. All are not on the same spectrum of whether it's, their sexual drive or, whether they're, on the spectrum of, like an Asperger's type syndrome, cognitive functions. People's cognitive abilities are not all the same. Some are, severely autistic. Some are on the spectrum. There are different flavors that are involved in those. And it's complicated, and it can be fluid at times. It just depends on the situation and what that person needs at the moment.
So remember, folks, don't rank angry.
Don't. And I don't know if you're familiar with David Mills or not and his stories. The guy who wrote, I have the book and I can see it in my head, Atheist Universe, or something to that effect. I have the book and I can see it in my head, but, I'm having some issues with distraction at the moment myself with, cognition or cognitive abilities like Kate has. That was on last week, Bionic Dance. But anyway, he is pretty open about his real doll. He posts publicly about his real doll, Taffy, and, advocates for real dolls. And, he's unashamed and unabashed about it, and he poses with Taffy everywhere.
I almost bought one.
And to him, it was worth that investment of, $7,000, give or take, to get her. And he highly recommends her. And he'd rather do that than pay for sex. And he's to throw a term out there that people, should be able to recognize as like, he's a horn dog. And unabashed about it.
Well, you know, the more you use it, the more it pays for itself.
Right. He's gotten his money's worth out there and has the means and the money to pay for it, and highly recommends Taffy and poses unabashedly about her, and has been, cited in publications about the benefits of having her. And he loves Taffy, and
like not getting arrested.
I love Taffy too.
Well, that is the name. The model is actually called Renee. That is the specific model that he has, but he renamed her Taffy, and he is in love with Taffy, and Taffy goes with him everywhere.
Anybody else want to go down to the boardwalk now?
Yeah, I mean, he's
I take my little tush on the boardwalk.
There are pictures of him posed with Taffy everywhere, and they're actually kind of funny. And if you Google for the images, they're out there, and he has no shame.
We'll have to edit.
You will have to. It's not safe for work. Trust me on that one. But she does look and feel very realistic.
But you see, here's the thing. Here's where there's one of the big differences going on here is that having lurked, so to speak, in the subreddit for a long time, I can confidently say that a lot of the members that are vocal are not comfortable with their bodies or with themselves. Whereas you're talking about a guy who has learned to become comfortable with those ideas, regardless of how long or short period of time it took. He became comfortable accepting of these things. You have a group here that are living in denial and becoming fanatic about it. And it doesn't matter if it's the incels or feminists or meninists or religious, theocratic, whatever. Anytime something becomes fanatical, bad shit starts happening.
Yep. That's the truth. A couple of things I need to clarify and make sure that we've got. As far as to all the stuff that we talked about, I will try to make sure that we get all those in the show notes so that everybody can kind of follow up on that at their discretion. Remember, because there's stuff about that. TTTF, you cut that shit out. I know exactly what it is that you're doing. You cut that out. Okay? I know what you're doing. You cut it out. You stop right there. What else was there that I was going to... let's see. Also, by the way, Brigid, I'm not going to actually. Yeah, I will, because I can't get in trouble for this one. Even my wife, when she was alive, because I mean she can't talk after she's dead, would say that masturbation actually helped with pains from
menstrual issues,
menstrual pains. Yeah. So there was that.
Water retention, headaches, blood pressure, stress, all sorts of things. Some people would giggle afterwards. Some people would cry. It was a release. I mean, it's just a thing.
Yep. Let's see.
People's reactions are different, and they're fine.
Yep. Let's see. The next time that there's another supposed apocalypse and rapture, get all the blow-up dolls, helium tanks, and have fun with everybody's expense.
Yeah.
And item last.
I remember the catchphrase. I'm sorry. How old were you when you first masturbated?
Thank you. It's about time.
There you go. Took me a little digging, but it's in there somewhere rattling around. So
that's good. I'm glad you were able to finally get a handle on that one. That's just perfectly fine.
You had handling on something. I got to go AFK for a moment.
You do that. And would somebody finally make a decision? Which am I going to drink? God, I'm sitting here. I'm waiting. Which one? The Blue Moon? Because that seems to be what some folks are just
start with the Blue Moon. Take it from someone with plenty of experience on the subject.
Fine.
That would be Bill Robbins at the bar.
Okay, that's perfect.
I don't know. So, you got even Shujin does not know of the level of experience that I have with this matter. You have to remember, I come from an Irish Catholic family.
Well, yeah.
I'm a veteran, and I hang out with Australians and Germans on a regular basis.
However, for Bill Robbins, with my experience, it was like, do you like beer? And I'm like, no, not really. If that's all that there is and it's very ice cold and I'm thirsty, it will work. He's like, I'll buy you a beer. What kind? And I was like, I really have no idea what's good because I'm not a beer person. And he's like, how about trying a Blue Moon? Those are on sale. And I was like, okay, why not? And
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me. I spilled a little bit on the countertop because
alcohol abuse.
It was just a couple of drops.
Well, okay, minor.
Yeah, because the cap didn't bend the way it was supposed to. Let me get this straight. Our good buddy Bill, Bill Robbins from Barroom Atheist, who knows his beer because I mean it's right in the title of his show.
Right.
He intentionally said, "I will buy you beer that's on sale because you don't know what you like, so I'm going to get the cheapest shit I can."
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
In his defense, he didn't buy her a PBR.
Exactly, because that is a deal breaker right there, and he knows better.
Okay, what is it?
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yeah, I got Pabst Blue Ribbon on my sorry.
A travesty
everywhere.
A travesty in
it
the
is
of beer.
And it's not tasty. It's like water under a canoe, but it's the hipster thing for some reason that I don't understand.
I'll tell you what, if people are serving Pabst Blue Ribbon, you know what, just if we're going for crap, just give me a Coors Light.
Exactly.
I drink Pabst Blue Ribbon because it's not about the taste.
It's because I'm a hipster or something.
You want to do that? Let's see. There were guys when I was in college, freshman year. You're 18, 19. Some guys, I heard a couple of RAs say, "Yeah, did you hear the guys from whichever group it was? I forget. Yeah, they got busted for bringing in beer. Yeah, but they were busted bringing in gullibles."
Why?
Yeah, as I understood, as I understood, gullibles was one step above carbonated horse piss. That's a direct quote from one of the RAs.
Well, I would have probably put it like making love under a canoe and say, do you understand the reference? Fucking like water.
Just, you know, if people are going to bring in horse swell, let them drink it. That's punishment enough.
They may not know any better, or they may be trying to go by price and not.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I joke about Mad Dog 2020. Yeah, let them drink a couple pictures of that.
It's about quality and not quantity, and whether you enjoy it or not. Unless your goal is to get, raging wasted, then you go for what's cheapest and just knock them back, and that's.
If you're just looking to get wasted, buy a bottle of 151, chug until you pass out. Have a nice day.
I don't get wasted on beer. I have said this before, and you might think I'm a snob, but whatever. Beer is recreational for me, but not to the level of getting wasted. For that, I rely on whiskey.
Right. And good whiskey.
Tullamore and Jameson.
Not flammable.
I don't know about that, but Tullamore and Jameson are two of my immediate go-tos. Holy shit!
There she is.
Good morning, Heretic Woman.
See, I'm a vodka guy myself. Heretic Woman, how you doing, darling?
I'm all right. Just blew in from the theater.
And how was
it? See David Bowie's Junk?
No.
Oh, wrong theater.
Bam-a-lot.
Excellent.
Well, Tech, just to give you a quick reply to your commentary, Tech, I used vodka to degrease engines.
That's the great reason why you should drink this.
Well,
and this is a true anecdote from my teen and 20 years, and this is a true story. And this is also a lesson learned that I, took notice of. This is not a good idea. someone had challenged him to chug some pure grain alcohol, not very much of it. He had rather full lips. He was also a smoker, and his lips literally caught on fire as he lit that cigarette, and that was not the brightest idea. That stuff really is flammable, and I would not drink it.
That is what we in the business call. That is what we in the business of drinking call a damn good night.
Yeah, but not light a cigarette, catch your lips on fire. That's not the goal.
Trust me, it gets so much worse. This is where everybody's greatest anecdotes come from. For example, Superman, and Shujin knows what I'm talking about when I say Superman.
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't remember?
No.
Friend of mine. Okay.
You're not white boy wasted.
In my early days of drinking, when I was still in the army and still stationed over in Korea.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
that one.
Okay, never mind. All right, we'll not talk about that. By the way, Heretic Woman, real quick.
Yes.
Apparently, this was the choice tonight. Blue
Ah,
Moon. So we've got that, and we'll fill you in on the rest of the stuff later. I'm actually liking this stuff so far. So
good.
not
Good.
bad. It's fine, and I don't know. There was something else I was going to fill you in on. Anyway, that Justin Trudeau has basically told Saudi, it'd be really nice of you to finally let him go. I don't know if you heard about that one.
No, I did not. That's good.
Yeah, so there's going to be that in the news. It's new news as opposed to the old stuff that had been recycled. So it's back on the forums again. Honestly,
it probably got lost in the hoopla from Monday. So
yeah, which is part of the reason why you ended up talking about it. All right, so let's get back on track with the whole damn thing. Toronto's police, holy shit! Whoever the hell you were, I'm absolutely I could not be more proud unless I had dual citizenship with Canada directly, because holy balls, was he great. He was great.
It's interesting. There was a video that I saw, I think it was Tuesday. It might have even been, I think it was Tuesday. And I think it was the same person who shot the bulk of the takedown video. And I mean, that guy just kind of hung around for whatever reason, but it was somebody shooting a cell phone video, and they're walking around the scene shortly after the guy was arrested. And he's like, you can hear the guy shooting the video go, is that him? Is that him over there? And somebody's like, yeah, man, that's the cop over there. And he actually goes, he's like, officer. He's like, amazing job. Thank you. And like shook his hand. And then the cop's like, yeah, thanks. Okay, now get lost. Kind of like, okay, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
thank
piss
you.
off now. Thank you.
But I said to my husband, I watched that video several times.
Sorry
and
about that.
Just said, if you see that, there is no fucking excuse for any cop to shoot an unarmed man. I don't care what, especially a black person, but there's no reason for that to happen. And it's quite obvious. Yeah, exactly. It's quite obvious that the officer got close enough that he saw the guy didn't have a gun, and that was the end of it. In fact, I don't know if you saw near the end, right before he got the guy down on the ground, not only did he stop to go and shut off his siren on his cruiser, but he actually holstered his weapon and took out his baton, because he knew the guy didn't have a gun. And the guy's sitting there like, shoot me in the head, shoot me. And the cop's like, no. He literally said no.
Yeah, because
that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. And after what he did, no, we're not going to shoot you. You got a lot to answer for.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And as somebody who was on the outside of the whole damn thing, and I will admit, I'm lay guy. My dad was a cop, yes, but I didn't do that through this stuff. If I'm a cop and I've got a gun trained on somebody, and somebody, after all of this stuff, is all of a sudden just out there, visibly does not have a weapon, and is saying, shoot me, shoot me in the head. No, you're trying to do suicide by cop, and I don't want that on my conscience. And you've got, like Jeff said, you've got stuff to answer for.
And to me, it wouldn't even be a matter so much as I don't want to be responsible for it. It's like, no, you're a dickhead who just killed 10 people. I'm not giving you anything you want.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
It's more or less giving him an out and doing him a favor.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. And there were people I saw saying, oh, you know, now the taxpayers have to pay to house him and they should have just shot him. I'm like, no. As said taxpayer who would have to pay for this guy because he lives in my province and down the road from me, I'm quite happy for my taxes to go to housing this jerk. If there's any way that A, we can find out what the hell he was thinking, and B, prevent anything like that happening again. And the only way we're going to do that is if somebody can crack his noggin and get him to talk about it. And
figuratively.
Yes, figuratively. Shrink it.
And, you know, this may sound just a little bit vindictive, but after what he's done, the only downside to him being imprisoned is that he only has one lifetime worth to regret.
Yes.
The
thing. Oh, sorry, Tech.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, and if you read some of the, I don't know if any of you guys have read any of this incel crap since then.
You missed earlier.
Okay, I did. Just the abject wallowing that goes on there, and the fact that that's what these guys want. Like, he wanted to be able, okay, now they're gonna kill me and I'm gonna be all done and I've made my mark. Yeah, it's taking away that desire, taking away what he wants. And in a way, it's like, yeah, you're such a loser, you can't even do suicide by cop because you're such an idiot.
You know, riffing off of that part where you were talking about being a taxpayer, you know, in reference to police officers here in the States, here in the United States of America, and things going on, as a taxpayer, I would rather my taxes going to put somebody in life in prison or going through the court system. You know, if they find them guilty and the punishment for that particular crime is death by electric chair, lethal injection, whatever, fine, so be it. But I'd rather pay for that than to pay for the lifetime of counseling for the police officer who was given piss poor training and forced to take a life because of it and has to deal with that now.
Yeah.
Just like my country's soldiers, my military and everything else. I may have qualms about my government, but I will always support my military. They're doing the things out there that I don't think I could do. I'm not sure. I might be able to, but I'm not sure what I would be like afterwards. And I know for a lot of these people, they come back. They're completely changed. You know, I work with them, and when I hear any politician saying that they want to take away or trim the fat for veteran services or things like that, that makes my blood boil.
Yeah.
Yep. Joe, you wanted to say?
Now, I completely harmonize with everything that you guys have gone ahead and said. I will say this much, though, and hear me out, because it's going to sound crazy a little bit at first, but
go for it.
I'm going to step in here and say just a quick thing in the defense of the majority of these incel identifiers. Nobody's calling you crazy. And here's the thing I have to say about it, and I've said it again, and I will continue to stress it because it is a truth that so very few people pay attention to. You can take any demographic and find the crazies. They're everywhere. You can have somebody who signs on to help out with a Sunday school, or you can have somebody who, you know, goes picketing with Westboro Baptist Church. You can have somebody who identifies as a Muslim and lives their life by those rules. And then you have somebody who blows up a federal building. It doesn't matter what group. Crazy is crazy, and you will find it everywhere.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing. We constantly have to try to remind ourselves that society and every slice of it is a bell curve. They're going to be, the majority of us are somewhere in the middle of the bell curve, but then there are going to be those people who are on way either side, who are either, really nuts or really lax. And that's part of the problem that we've run into now.
Yeah.
I mean, we have far too many situations that this type of fanaticism has done to us.
Yeah. So, in closing on that comment, the one thing I want to stress is that we are not in any way blaming members who identify themselves as part of Incell. They had nothing to do with this. These
Agreed.
were the deliberate actions of an individual, and only that individual should be held accountable.
It's just like when they find somebody who's atheist who has done something wrong. Yeah. Atheism doesn't go and promote bad actions. Atheism just says it's a label. You don't believe in a God, period. End of conversation. Have a nice day. There are other things out there that will encourage violence. There are definitely things in certain religions that encourage violence. Things that are dogmatic in nature might encourage fanaticism. But the concept of incel doesn't really do that. Just like it's a label. Now, the people who willingly label themselves that way can be fanatic about their label. Mm-hmm. But the label itself doesn't breed fanaticism. So like Joe said, you will find crazy everywhere you look.
What's unfortunate though, and you guys know I did our show about this on Monday before any of this we knew about any of this. I'd done some research for that, of course, and reading things, and I went back to some of those places where I had been reading posts and things, and the number of people who, at least outwardly, were on that particular bandwagon was really scary.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly scary.
How many billions of people do we have on this planet? That shit number is scary. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's not that the label inherently denotes that, but there is an alarmingly sizable group within the group that seem to be of that mindset, which is what I think, what we were talking about on the show. And we had Dr. Schloss with us to talk about it. And he said, he didn't know anything about incels before I approached him about the show, which was 3 weeks ago. And he's like, in what? So he went as a good doctor and did research and came back, and one of the first things he said, which is really eerie, at the top of the show, he's like, my concern is that somebody will act on these expressions. And we mentioned the guy from California, and he gets enough press, so I don't feel like mentioning his name, but the guy, that Toronto guy, was lauding. And Richard was like, oh shit, it's already happened. I'm like, yes, unfortunately, blah, blah, blah. We talked about that. And then I get off the air and look up, what news has there been about the attack? And I just about fell out of my chair. Yeah. So, but that was one of the first things he said, was that I see a possibility that there are people who are into that mindset to the level that they could act on it, and boom.
As creatures of logic, we look for reasons. We look for things to explain something. So when we find out that, somebody has done something and, they're part of this group, and this group, Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It must be because of this group. No.
No.
And the other
I would say the
part of
part
that,
of the incel group that bothers me the most is the fact that they don't eject misogynists. True men who absolutely hate women. Like, just like there are women who absolutely hate men, right? Whatever the name for that is, I forget. It begins with an M as well.
Miss
But-
Andry. Miss Andry.
Miss Andress. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. And like in the men's rights activist group, in the men's right movement groups, they tend to find, when they find people like this, they tend to kick them out and go, listen, that kind of toxicity and hatred is not productive. Get the hell away from us. Whereas the incel group, some members welcome, other members just ignore them. And neither action is positive.
No. And that's what I noticed is a lot of the people who were like, well, we don't condone violence and we don't condone what this guy did. But when you see the threads where a bunch of people are posting like that, they don't step in and say, hey, moderator, get rid of this post, or shouldn't this person be disciplined or whatnot. Yes,
Brigid, you were going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say that, from a logical standpoint and previous experience with, doing system analysis and working with, groups and subgroups and, group restrictions and either or, and, also experience with doing, triage, you have to think of a, at least for a mental health expert, they have a working diagnosis. They aren't looking, for things, but that can be changed based on evidence. And it's kind of a fine art with some people. Some are better and quicker at it than others, but they have to have a working name for a thing and then work down from there. And that is the way that, systems work. It makes sense. That's the way that you triage and filter and prioritize. And some people are very good at doing that. Some people are at doing that, but there's a validation process. And if there are any conflicts, it will get people stuck on a thing. And after they get that conflict resolved, the validation process continues. And that is, a cognitive dissonance. That is the way that works in someone's brain. And you have conflicting ideas, but they're both contradictory and you're not aware that that's happening until someone is able to gently, explain it to you well from another approach. And the problem in society right now is people are so hung up on, well, this label is this and this label is that. They're trying to change the definition of labels, and words do have specific meanings for a reason. The flavor of slang does change. I am not one that I'm going to call out people publicly for that. That is not my role. My role is to pull them aside, quietly explain, with understanding that any kind of dogmatic black and white thinking is dangerous for whatever reason of whatever kind. There are, a general group, there are subsets of that group and other subsets of that group. And if you were to compare one group against another and do a Venn diagram, there are going to be various things that overlap and there are going to be outliers, but you can look for a trend. And if something is not within that area of a, well, actually what I'm trying to say is if there are things in that area that overlap, it's a very delicate balance to keep everyone in check and happy, because there's going to be conflicts. And conflict resolution is an issue in this society. And part of the problem is you have people who are dogmatic about, these are my, standards and this is non-negotiable. You have other people that are like, I'm willing to at least listen to what you say. I might not agree with it. If you do make some valid points, I will, step aside and say, good point, I need to do some more thinking. I am willing to work around with that and adjust gradually and not shock the hell out of people. Then you have other contingent who will break out the clue bag at the first instance and then try to do a takedown and, you know, call on the posse and take them down. And right now, that seems to be the default setting of society is people are on a crusade one way or the other, and takedown culture is real, and they will call you out and take you down. And if you're a little guy, you know, there is no solution, no good one. There is going to be damage. They will probably succeed in putting you under if you're little. And if you're too big to fail, there's not a thing you can do about it. And dogmatic thinking is destroying the society. And it doesn't, you know, it doesn't help that people are exchanging one set of dogma for another and not willing to step aside and reassess, maybe adjust a little bit. You can't accommodate everyone ever. It is simply not possible. If people are going to be offended over, you know, you're misspeaking a word because you're from a different generation and you're not sure what the current context is. I mean, words have medical definitions for a reason. And I am not going to call you out and say, well, you're saying, you know, triggered, and you know, you don't know what that looks like, blah, blah, blah. What I am going to do is quietly pull them aside and say, you might need to step back and reassist. Not that I am calling you out publicly for appropriation. You might want to dial back a little bit. I'm not trying to judge you. I am not trying to tone police you. I am trying to mitigate damage that this is going to cause and create. And blood sport is not good. I understand why it's happening. I understand and I see around me that it's a societal issue all around, whether it's a football team, whether it is, you know, your religion, your employer, your alma mater, you know, reality TV or whatever. People are willing to take down and call out and crash and burn everything because they're not going to change their minds, and you cannot reach them, and you have to cut them loose and let them go if they're toxic to you. Some people do not agree with that viewpoint. Some people will never agree with that viewpoint. That is not my issue. I am not responsible for what other people do. I do not want people advocating on my behalf, because if I can ask, you know, if I need help, I will ask. Do not jump in and call the police on me, because I've got this, you know. That's why I throw out little things, because of my issues, that I have several people that are in various subgroups, and that is just me. People who know me understand that. They know that I do not call out people and try to take them down, but I will call them aside and PM them and say, I'm throwing out this. This is what this means. And I am not threatening you. I'm not going to destroy your life if you know, do anything, but this is not going to happen on my wall personally. It is not up to debate if I'm not up to it. If I cannot inform a well-reasoned opinion and, you know, actually think things through, I still struggle with jumping to a conclusion, but, you know, not blurting it out, you know, stepping back, thinking through it really quickly, and then, you know, maybe editing a post before I actually put it out there. I try very hard to do that. People think that I'm trying to coddle people. That is not the reason. I have reasons that are mine. And people who actually know me know that, you know, I am coming from a good place and trying to assist because I see what is going on. There are some steps that I can take to try to assist. And if you're going to call me out and take me down for trying to navigate and help and try to help the videos, then, you know, you can fuck off. People who know me know what I am doing. They trust my judgment. And it is, you know, when I throw out the drama llama, drama is not going on my wall. That is a clue to just shut it down on my wall and take it elsewhere because I'm done. And if that card is invoked, and I have invoked it, now is not the time. I need some me time, and I'm going to step back and recess, and then I am going to go clean up whatever shit show is on my wall, but I am not responsible for anything going on there right now. And if you cost me my dear friends over this, I will not try to destroy your life, but I will give you an explanation. I will toss you out the airlock and say, I'm sorry I had to do this. I love you dearly. You will be missed, but you're gone. For me. And that is how I roll. If I need to.
Okay.
And so I'm just throwing that out there. I'm in triage mode and problem solving mode. And, you know, I'm doing it. It's kind of sloppy, but, you know, that is where I'm at right now. Part of it is this, you know, takedown culture. That's not all of it, but, you know, there's so much chaos going on right now that I, you know, am having issues dealing with that myself, and I'm having to step away and recess and say, I'm throwing out the popcorn, have fun. If there is anything that comes back and harms me and you try to take me out, I do have a posse. I am not responsible for anything that they do. And if I throw that signal, it's on, and I'm stepping back and watching. And, you know, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Joe, yeah, you were trying to get in there a couple times.
You know, it's fine. Two things. One short, one not so much. Did we just lose?
We'll see what happens in a couple moments. It's happened already once or twice before. So.
Yes, it's true.
Yep.
Nobody can blame her for going HAL 9000 on that one anyway.
Anyway, go
on. Two things. One, triggered, you know, that word gets thrown around a lot. For me, triggered means something on both a humorous and somewhat darker note, if you know my history. Triggered means something entirely different for me. Mm-hmm. Secondly, and again, this probably won't be as short. Like I said before, with the systems that Brigid had talked about early on, they're all based on logic. It is a product of logic. Most of society is a product of logic nowadays because we are logical creatures. We look to explain things. And, you know, forgive me for going Ayn Rand for a moment here, but A is A. Well, yeah, but I'm also addressing this from a philosophical point of view.
No, I know. I'm sorry. For those of you that are listening, I'm sorry. I'm proudly wearing my first science shirt. So on the front it says not just science. So it's the whole logical aspect. Sorry.
Cool.
A is A, and if something is wrong, then there must be a reason. Something that people too often forget is that, you know, all of that is logical. All of that makes sense. Something people forget is crazy defies logic. Crazy spits in the face of sense. You can't just explain it away. I mean, yes, it has triggering factors. Yes, there are physical and biochemical and all these other things that can be associated with it. But when we're talking about full-on fucking crazy here, pardon my French, je ne sais pas. I have no idea. But yeah, crazy happens. And sometimes, yes, there are underlying minor relations to that, but crazy is crazy. And you can't pin crazy on an idea or a philosophy or anything of that sort. You have to look at the individual.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. I mean, let's face it. All right. I'm not going to be tipping Godwin over on this one exactly, but the starkest example of the whole damn thing is the World Trade Center in New York City. How many millions and billions of otherwise peaceful Muslims are there in the world versus how many did what they did? And forgive me, I was born in Brooklyn. My kid's going to be down in New York City soon for a trip. So it's kind of hot and heavy on my mind. The biggest problem that we've got is that fanaticism, no matter what the group that people might be involved with, people are involved with so many possible groups and so many possible labels. It's almost impossible, to try to isolate one specific thing that set them over the edge. Usually. Yeah. But the problem of it is, once you've been able to zero in on where that basic causality is, you can start to put together you don't need a corkboard, red string to connect all the dots, but you start to put together a collection of things that make sense after the fact, so you can try to figure out and not have something happen again.
The whole, excuse me, the whole sanity is a lot like gravity. All it takes is just a little push. But, you said you wouldn't tip Godwin's Law, but you know what? Screw that. I'm going to. Everybody has, well, okay, not everybody, because some people actually understand this, but a popular idea is that, well, all the Germans of 1930s and 1940s were Nazis, and Nazis are bad, okay? No. You actually would be very surprised at how many Germans who even were participating in the German army of the time, the Wehrmacht, were not Nazis. They were vehemently opposed to Nazism. And there are multiple documented cases of when given the opportunity, these individuals in their groups were able to turn the tables and actively fight against the Nazis. For example, there's one really great, makes for a really good story, actually. There was a German unit that had been surrounded and captured by an American unit, and they surrendered. Meanwhile, up on a hilltop fortress, there was an SS unit. Now, those guys were Nazis. You had to be a Nazi to be in the SS.
Well, yeah.
And that German unit fought with the Allied unit against the SS unit.
Good on them.
So no, one label is never going to be enough. You have to look at the big picture.
See, the biggest problem that we've got with all this is, like Joe said, fanaticism is its own level of crazy. That's really, really damn difficult to try to understand.
And another good example was with the German army. Yeah, there were a lot of dissenters, but you got to remember they did what they were told because A, they feared for their lives or their families. They were coerced, and in the case of Oskar Schindler, he saw a chance for profit, which, granted, we're all only human and we're all looking for profit. And he realized too late, but he did realize that what the price of that profit would be, and did what he could to reverse that situation.
Yeah, Tech, I saw that you brought...
There's one other thing that people forget too about Nazism. They also put into play the system for indoctrination. And when you indoctrinate somebody into a system, you are taking away their ability to fight back in many cases, depending on the methods that you're using, the age ranges that you're targeting. So, like, for example, indoctrination in Catholicism, they got you at birth, you know, and just nonstop. The deck is so stacked against you that it still surprises me. Having been in there and getting my way out, it still surprises me that people who are like in the middle of the Bible Belt, just like over their heads, deep in this stuff, still manage to find their way out.
The problem with indoctrination is that it poisons logic. It tries to give you the explanations first before you have any experience. It tries to give you the explanations rather than you deducing logically what the explanation for a particular thing is.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and nobody knows that one on this group better than Brigid at this point. I mean, we've said on so many occasions, you had shit drilled into you, and you had to fight your way through.
I did, and you know, I understand where people are coming from as far as that is so hard to change that mindset, especially when you have, you know, genetic and or situational causes, you know, together, and it, you know, it can get very ugly. That's why I do try to, you know, my motivations are well intended. I will make mistakes because I am human. I am a humanist because that is my label. There are several subgroups that happen to overlap, and you know, I know what my boundaries are and what my limits are, and if I need to step back and reassess, I will quietly do so. And it's not because I'm gonna, you know, try to take you down. It is because that is where I'm at, and I am not able to do anything but that, you know, logically, because you know, triage is going on and I'm prioritizing, and these are the priorities at the moment. They may shift from moment to moment, right, you know, as I need to navigate things, and bear with me until, you know, I ride whatever situation out. I'm trying to mitigate damage here. That is where I'm at. This is not time to try to interfere because work is being done that you are not aware of, and you will not sabotage it. Just don't. And I will give an example, and it's very short, sweet, to the point, and it actually got through, and the deer in the headlights look happened, and it worked, because you have to find different approaches, and this is, you know, from a psychiatric standpoint, you know, dogma, indoctrination, all that. Earlier this week, a couple of days ago, I'm not sure the exact day because I'm not even sure what day of the week it is, you know, but there was a huge win, and it was a preacher that was outside of an abortion clinic. I will not name the location or anything like that, or the state, because, you know, TMI. But a friend quietly pulled him aside and said, you know, sir, may I speak with you? And he was just, you know, getting all defensive and all this stuff, because he said, you know, well, we know what the Bible says, that, you know, homosexuality is a mental illness, and homosexuals are gonna burn in hell and all that. And she just tapped him politely, and she said, I just have a couple of questions for clarification. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to, you know, tell you that you're right or you're wrong or argue with you. Just stop and listen to me for a second. Can you do that? And just answer just a straight up yes or no. And, you know, we'll work from there, and I'll show you something. And just, this is coming from a good motivation. Just hear me out. And he's like, okay, you know, and she said, so you said that you think that, you know, homosexuality is a mental illness. And he said, yes. And you also just said that homosexuals will burn in hell. And he said, yes. And she's like, okay, have you had algebra? And he's like, why are you asking me this? And she said, okay, if you have had algebra, then you know that A equals B. This is correct. He said, yes. And she said, so B equals C. Is that also correct? And he said, yes. And so by definition, A equals C. Is that a true statement? And the headlights went on, and he was thinking about it, and he's like, yes. And she said, so just for clarification, if A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C. Is that true or false? And he said, yes. And she said, so what you are saying, actually, if you think of it that way, is that people with mental illness are going to burn in hell. That is correct. Is that not? And he went, oh, I might need to do some more thinking about that. And she's like, that's all I'm asking is just think it through. And I'm not saying that you're right or that you're wrong. I'm just asking you to stop and think, what do you do with that information now? And he's like, I'm going to have to go do some thinking on that. And she said, that's all I'm asking you to do. And he recognized it, and he conceded the point, and he dialed it back and said, I need to think some more. And she said, that's all I ask. And he got it. That is a win. That is the way to do it.
That is. And see, that's the biggest problem that we end up with fanaticism. Most people who get to the level of what we would otherwise consider fanatics, unfortunately, will not listen to logical arguments.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem that we end up with. And yeah, Joe, I'm not surprised that you're chomping at the bit straight away for that one, because that's exactly what you're talking about, or actually the antithesis of what you're talking about.
Fanaticism, indoctrination, all that kind of stuff. It flips the logical process. Instead of looking for the conditions, instead of looking for an explanation for the conditions, you're looking for the conditions for what explanation you already have.
Yeah.
And that is showing you in a loving way that is non-judgmental. This is what you just said. Is that right or just? And he's not, one of the Calvinists or one of those. He's just an evangelical, preacher trying to save babies or whatever. And, he conceded the point and said, that's a good point. I'm going to have to go back and think about that. We reached him, or she did. My friend did. I didn't, but I assisted. But yeah, that's the kind of things that I have been trying to work on, to do something to help do what I can to help others reach, others, because, I take what Cash called you out seriously as well.
And Brigid, I have to give you props, because the A equals C on top of my previous A is A argument.
That was perfect. It was short and concise. He saw the dilemma. The deer in the headlights came on, and he is like, you're right. That is exactly what I'm saying, that people with mental illnesses will burn in hell. And that's not, I don't know what to do with that information. I need to rethink. It's
uncool.
You have to think about it that way. If you beat people over the head with a clue bat, that is not going to help. It is going to make it worse. And people need to step back, reassess, think about it in a way to actually reach that person that will not drive them away, but cause the deer in the headlights. And there is no answer to, make that conditional, because that is mathematical proof that that is exactly what you said. And there is the conflict. How do you resolve it? I'm not telling you what the answer is. That's for you to decide. And just step away and say, that's just a piece to think about. And do with that as you like, as you wish. I am not judging you. I am not giving you the answer to that. That's for you to figure out. And just quietly walk away and let them mull it over. That is how you do it well. And if you can reach that one person and stop that process and make him recognize I have no answer to resolve this, and there are no arguments I can come up that will resolve that. I don't know what to do with this. It's like, it's uncomfortable, but it does make you stop and think and reassess, and it might nudge you over a little bit. It might do a little bit. It might do a lot, but you will stop back and think and go, wait a minute, that's kind of wacko. What else is wrong here? And start digging. It may. It depends on whether you're inclined to dig for more or go, wait a minute. Yeah. And, you know, and maybe join the clergy project and get the process started of, what do I do with this information? That's a win.
And that's the thing that, to me, is frustrating, scary sometimes. Dealing with the people who absolutely refuse to even follow through with the simple questions. I've had a number of Facebook commentaries back and forth, some of which are screen capped and put into the Facebook group, by the way, for those of you that are, ever thought about following us over there on Facebook. There's a good reason for it, where I've gone ahead and I've explained to people, you're wrong about a point, and here's why. And the one that's coming into my head right now, I was having an argument about, the video was a bunch of kids who were standing on an American flag, voicing their gripes, and somebody who was supposedly a vet came over, took it away from them, and people were hailing this as a wonderful thing, and I'm completely against this, because they've got the right to say whatever it is. They've got the right to stand on their own property. You don't like it, tough shit. You're a vet. You should know this kind of thing, but whatever. But the guy I was having the argument with was a cop that I grew up with. I went through high school with him, and he was a cop, an ex-cop at this point. And that's important, because when it finally got to the matter of, if it came down to a matter of supporting a vet who was taking somebody's property against the law versus somebody who was in their constitutional rights to go ahead and say whatever the hell they want to say and stand on the American flag because that's protected speech, which would you end up doing? Which would you follow through? Your heart because you want to support a vet, or the kids because that's their legal right? And the argument that came back was, to end it, I'm no longer a cop, so I can choose for myself what I would do.
That is a win, but in some ways. But it's up to them to choose. But you also have to gently remind them that, you know, because I come from things from the right approach. And if people call me out because I misspeak, that is not my intent. If you know me and you know me well, you understand that, you know, definitions are, well, not definitions, slang changes and evolves. And, you know, I can't keep up with what is current this week. Words do actually have meanings, but, you know, I understand that there are people who are all about, well, you're appropriating culture or whatever their, you know, thing is at the moment. And, you know, I do understand that there is some conflict going on. There is a dilemma. There's no good way to resolve it. And I'm not going to engage in crusades to take people down. I am not going to beat them over the head, because that does not usually work. It usually pushes them further into what you're trying to get them out of. It's not kind. It damages lives. And my default setting is I start triaging things immediately and problem solving, because that is what I do. That is my, you know, talent that I can contribute. I quickly assess the situation, you know, aware that there are various circles here that intersect on my wall, that some people, you know, are struggling at the moment with mental issues and cannot handle the discussion, and they have to quietly walk away. There are other people that are out for blood. And I'm here going, yo, time out. It's little me. Stop it. And I am only one person, but if I can reach one person and get them to step back kindly and reassess and dial it down and at least think and not get defensive, that's a win. And I did well this week helping someone else navigate that situation and handling it. It was not my solution, but we were brainstorming quietly trying to figure out, and it's like, okay, mathematical proof. Ask the guy, has he had algebra? If he has, that is the starting point. And say that this is done not out of judgment. I am not going to give you the answer to this. I will not tell you what my view is. I'm just asking you a question and showing you how would you go about resolving this, and done it well and with style. And then she just said, that's all I asked, and walked away. And that is a win. In my book, my default is I come at things, I'm not that naive as people think that I am. I do let a lot of stuff slide because that is my agreement with myself. I do triage, and I know that if there are no good alternatives at all, either or is going to be very, very messy. My default is do the least damage as possible to the most amount of people and work it out from there and clean up and move on. That is me on damage control. And I will quietly pull people aside and give them a warning and say, blah, 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 blah. And if they keep pushing, I'm like, don't. And if they do it, it's like, okay, you had an explanation of why this is not appropriate. I asked you to dial it down off my Facebook wall. I love you and I will miss you. I do not ghost people, but we're done and I'm sorry and it hurts me, but I had to do this because I'm losing friends because of your behavior on my wall. And they are friends that I've had over decades that I have accumulated as I have grown and evolved and adjusted my thinking and struggles and shared my story and accumulated people who, have responded to that story. And I do it for them and also for me. And my motivation is do it with kindness. Deborah's, position is I'm going to beat the shit out of Muslims. And I get that. And I feel that.
Well, only verbally.
I mean, you get the clue back out and you start swinging and you start doing examples and you rock at it. That is your
Thank
niche.
Thank you. I try.
We all have our different filters and experiences. And if you can use those to actually do something with that, then everything that you have gone through, if you can make it through and be able to use it to help someone with that knowledge, it was not a wasted experience. It may have been bad, but you can use it to do something good with it. And that is what I do, and I do it well.
Yeah, that's. I think that's probably somewhere where we got to see about
wrapping that up.
Well, rolling with that a little bit.
Yeah.
As we start pulling it into the station at this point, which, by the way, the Blue Moon was actually good. By the way,
well,
I actually did finish.
I'm glad you enjoyed my recommendation as a non-connoisseur.
Okay,
next time try it with orange in it.
I can't speak to that. Never done it, but thank you, Bill Robbins.
Yep. So
Shujin says it's not bad.
It's okay. You've had enough airtime. Shut the fuck up now. Here's since we gotta see about kind of rolling to the station soon. Let me kind of take that and work with it a little bit for us to see about closing through the ideas. Like you said, your way of dealing is to try as much as possible to do discreetly, to work through, to educate, to try to lead by the nose ring if necessary, to try to get people to understand what it is they're doing, where they're going, and why this is not such a good idea. We know full well Heretic Woman, when dealing with folks with the Quran who don't want to listen, or actually any of the Abrahamics, has been known to how should we put this?
School some folks.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking more along the lines of how many times did you have to haul in Ms. Ashley from taking people down?
on. Yeah.
Couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tech, you and I both know full well, using the clue by 4 on people when necessary is really satisfying, but sometimes isn't really the nicest way of dealing with folks.
There's only so much you can fix with percussive maintenance.
That's true.
Sometimes it's necessary. And I will be the first to admit that people tend to use percussive maintenance more than when it's necessary or appropriate.
Yes.
But it does have a time and place, just like all other tools.
Right.
And, just so that somebody out there doesn't go out there and do something truly and epically stupid with a clue by 4, please remember that we're speaking proverbially. We're talking about smacking somebody in the back of the head with words, not with actions. Or in some cases, the actions might be a demonstration of what is appropriate versus what was actually occurred. But not to actually take a piece of lumber or tubular reinforcement and crowning somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, very much so. But and well, Joe, your way of dealing with people who are exceedingly stubborn in professional life had been ventilation, I think is the appropriate term for it. For those that can't see, he's smirking at me and really trying to figure out how not to admit that yes, I'm right. And it would be
not just ventilation. Wasn't there some fragmentation going on as well?
Look. On that particular subject, all I can say is I never pointed a firearm at someone that wasn't pointing one at me first.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
Second, you look how I deal with the more stubborn individuals. I will reference the ones who were under me, my troop of soldiers, and I always found if percussive maintenance wasn't enough, there's always PT.
Wonderful. By the way,
I will PT you all until you die.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. By the way, I found out what the problem was with the blue moon. The reason why I spilled it earlier. Sorry, I know.
You did not take that off with your teeth, did you?
No.
Okay, good.
I'm crazy. It's switch that. No, I use the little metal thingy. Yeah, no,
is it a church key or is that a can opener? How do you define that piece of equipment?
I defined it as this is what gives me my wine.
Okay.
It's a very nice unit.
So we all have different methods, and whatever works for you.
That's his. Remember, we were talking about masturbatory devices earlier on. Yeah, dude, that's his way of getting release and pleasure.
No. See this.
See, it releases the pressure from the bottle, and then he gets pleasure when he wraps his lips around it.
That's his bottle opener. This one's mine.
Yeah.
So that we're all on the same page here, and some people will understand this. Some people will want to look it up. Some people will be smart enough to know I'm not going to look that up. Tech, this is a bottle opener. It is not a pear. Some people who know what that you know what that is.
Are you talking like the pear?
Don't just no.
It's just hilarious.
I'm just thinking.
Don't no. Later.
I will explain. I will explain later, Heretic Woman.
We were talking about smacking people over the back of the head with words. Well done, Shujin. I bow before your verbal prowess.
I was just gonna say I'm well versed in medieval torture devices.
Then you know enough. Then you
yes.
know.
The pear didn't have a pointy bit. I'm just saying.
It didn't need one, and that's yeah.
No.
Yeah, please don't look. I know.
Especially at work. Don't do that at work, especially.
You're not supposed to take medical advice from a podcast, legal advice from a podcast. However, you can accept this as golden. Don't go looking this shit up from a podcast. You don't want to, because if you already know what it is, you don't need to look it up. And if you don't know what it is already, trust me, you don't need to know.
I've seen a real one.
I don't care.
In Dracula's castle in Romania, of course.
Well, among the more mundane things there.
Yes.
We'll talk more. We'll talk when we have Darrel Ray on the show. We'll ask him about it. How's that? Is that better?
There we go.
Yeah, that'll.
I can't typos, but that does need to be said. This is a disclaimer and a thing people try to quote unquote kill people with kindness. If you try to overdo it in a passive aggressive manner, that can actually cause people to click on you and hurt you, because that is passive aggressive. Do not do that. You do not kill them with kindness. If your motivation is to push their buttons because you're being overly sweet, that can result in your bodily harm. Do not do it. And in other words, don't.
Be real, be nice, or we will slap a bitch.
Exactly. And meme. From where I'm from, my hometown, clever meme that came out of all of this situation. Girl, you got this. The Memphis Posse has you because, new catchphrase that I am claiming because I grabbed it from a friend of mine from high school that is still my friend after all of these years, and I was able to help her with an issue that I have a lot of knowledge about and solve her dilemma, because she's new to this and she's my age.
Is that
no.
Masturbation?
No.
Okay.
No. It has to do with the United States Postal Service and certified mail and IRS, and even that is not reliable. There is no reliable method these days to get that stuff to the IRS. It cannot be hacked, frauded, or whatever. There is a story behind it, but she'd never had mail go missing before, especially important mail, and did not even know where to begin to resolve this, because short synopsis was the crumpled up check was returned to her with no attachments from the USPS. She has no idea where her tax information even is or what happened to it, and the IRS has not received it. And she's like, what do I do? My information's out there. And, the Postal Service and who can you trust if you can't mail it, you can't internet, but who can you trust? And I was like, I've learned the hard way because of various reasons. These are the steps that you need to initiate to CYA. This is what you need to do to document this. This is the starting point. These mechanisms you need to put, and we're crowdsourcing some other ways to help you get through this. But, the MIMFO, the MIMFO hood people, whatever you want to call us, take that as you will. She's like, the posse's got your back, and somebody came up with the best meme ever. They're like, you got this, and Kelly worked it out. She doesn't mind if I say her name. And best meme ever that I'm shamelessly ripping off, and I don't care about the language or context, but I am using it. And if people are offended, fuck off. Is like, you got this, and the caption, the e-cards with the boy and the girl that are duking it out. Somebody put on their, bitch, please, I'm from Memphis. I was like, I'm stealing that because I can claim it. Take that as you will. I thought it was hilarious, and I stole it.
Shu, with what all of you were saying just a moment ago, I am reminded of the motto of the cleric. Yes, I'm going into D&D again. Yeah. For someone who has never played it, I know a lot of D&D references. And all I can say is this: my faith is the path to healing. For everything else, I have my hammer.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I had a hammer called
The takeaway from all of this that I want people to have is that, let people do what they're doing for reasons and do not interfere with that. And if you're going to go on a crusade, take it elsewhere, because we're busy trying to actually reach out to people and get some successes. And if you sabotage it, I am not responsible for those actions, but posse work is going on. And if you are sabotaging that work, they will school you. I have no control over that. And I'm not calling them in. But consequences have actions. And if something bad happens out of it, it's on you. And you brought it on yourself, because we're trying to do work here. Do not interfere with our work. You don't need to know what it is. It's none of your business. Just shut up and go away, because we're busy here. And that is my skill set and where I come from. And if people don't like it, if they don't know me well enough or try to get to know me well enough that my intentions are coming from a good place, if I happen to, step on some toes, it is not intentional. It could be generational. And I got a stunning example of this just this week from my daughter. I was describing something. She said, "Oh, that sounds like a raw deal." And I was like, "Why? That's actually pretty good." And she's like, "That's what I'm saying." And I'm like, back in our generation, a raw deal means you're getting screwed. And she's like, no, a raw deal is good. And I'm like, since when? I learned something. Words change and evolve. Language does matter. Labels, people assign labels to themselves for various reasons. They may not be the reasons you think they are, and people are so quick to jump to conclusions that they should have like awesome calf muscles, and they might need to step back for a moment, because the default is to jump to a conclusion and then work it out, and the default should be rather to step back, assess the situation, and then act. But because people just spontaneously blurt out things with no filters, or are looking to crucify people because they actually misspoke, and precious snowflake things as a culture. And if anybody hears me say that, I'll probably lose friends on the other side and screw them. But it needs to stop. And my niche is not what you think it might be. Make no assumptions about what I am trying to do or my motivation. I know what I'm doing. Let me do what I am.
What? Well,
she got a bit too excited there.
Yep.
I just want to I really wanted to ask her a question. It's like, Brigid, what's a filter?
Yeah, well, I think the filter right now is what's going on with her ISP. She's had a couple of times where she's dropped off from us, so I'm expecting that she'll be back momentarily.
Internet. This is why you should go through a VPN.
The internet just decided to say,
"Shut up!
You need a timeout."
Brigid came in and he kicked Heretic Woman out.
Or did I win the internet? Who knows?
You broke the internet.
I broke the internet. Is that good or bad?
Broke the internet.
I don't know.
One too many people connected. The internet screwed up. I am not fixing this. Tomorrow is a day off for me.
Right.
Fair enough. Anyway, all right. We
just a shark gnawing on the world cable.
Welcome back. Sorry, I couldn't out. I'll be quiet.
Yeah. Well, that was weird.
Yeah,
I know.
She came back and then you were kicked in. It's like,
I was like, oh, hi, Brit, and then I'm like, wait a minute, everyone's quiet. I'm talking to myself.
That's happened with my connection several times this broadcast because the ISP is being wonky.
Hey, Heretic Woman, don't feel bad. That sounds like me and most of my previous dates.
That's great. All right, so we're at the top of the hour, so we gotta see about wrapping this up. Brigid, you've got nothing. Yes, you've got nothing else to add at this point.
No, just be kind to each other. Per Miss Ashley, and be kind to yourself. Those two things are very important. You do what you need to do to get by, and that is all that you can do. And if you do your best and your motivations are good, People who know you should, step it back and take you at what you are saying and not try to, take you down, go on a crusade, get your job or whatever. That needs to stop. Somebody's got to step up and help make it stop. And if I can reach one person and stop a person from ending up in a psych ward or losing a job because I'm asking people to just step back and reassess, it matters that I was here and I did well.
Good. Okay, good. Stop.
I'm done.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I'm cutting you off.
He's like, you are done, sweetheart. Snap, snap.
No, it's worse. Okay. All right. For those of you that are planning on starting your own podcasts eventually one of these days, this is why you don't have demi-tasks before you start a show. Don't do it. Some people know what demi-tasks is. Anyway, so let me go ahead and see if anybody's got anything that they wanted to finish off or add before we go ahead and just wrap up. Because I personally, right now, I got nothing. And that's pretty much where I am. Does anybody want to drop anything? Otherwise, we'll just see about rolling at this point.
I don't know what I missed in the first half.
Okay, all right. So first the Earth cooled, and then the dinosaurs came. They got too big and fat. They turned into oil.
Well, before the Earth cooled, various pieces smashed together and formed the Earth. Of course, it was still too hot. But
he's quoting a specific.
Yes,
thing.
I know, and I'm screwing with him.
We'll do that.
Gotcha.
Fine. We'll fill you in on what you missed later.
As a throwback to.
Oh God, you're not going to talk about masturbation again, are you?
No.
Okay.
As a throwback to where we started off,
which was masturbation.
Well, even before that, to our friend Alec, you're not an asshole because you belong to Incell. You're an asshole because you ran people over.
Mm-hmm. That about sums it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I could or should say something further, but you know what? There's nothing to add at that point.
I don't know.
I've got something to say.
Well, just real quick. I don't know how the Canadian prison system works and, the goings on up there, but if your problem was that you weren't getting enough sex,
I'm thinking you might have solved that.
You're about to have a lot more than you want.
And for quite a long time, I'm thinking.
I would hope otherwise, but that's a whole other thing. Tech, go ahead. You got the last, I guess, at the moment.
Okay. Mine is to basically the wonderful newscasters who made the analogous statement of how incels are basically men's rights activists. It's like, no. Anybody can be a men's rights activist. Anybody can be a feminist or an egalitarian or whatever, and not be an incel. They can also be an incel and still be one of those things. They do not equal each other. Okay? A men's rights activist is just a male version of a feminist. That's it. End of story. Have a nice day. Incel is something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't see the difference, you're making the problem worse.
I think that's a fair statement right there, and I think that's a good spot to just let it hang. Exactly right there. So with that, we will go ahead and close up shop. So everybody, thank you very much for being part of all this. Yeah, we didn't exactly go where I was anticipating, but what show does? So thanks with being with us, and we hope that we found something worthwhile for you to think about and give you something to really consider for tonight, especially with how this particular news story has really hurt a lot of people and really brought some people to really question what's going on for themselves. So let me go ahead and thank everybody as usual for coming on out. Tech, thank you very much for your time. You have yourself a safe trip home, huh?
Oh, I'm going to be here for several weeks. This is not going to be the first show that I'm doing from here.
Oh, well, okay then.
Yeah.
Yeah, where is here? You sound different.
I'm just on my phone because I don't have my home system in front of me.
Ah.
I'm house sitting for my friend.
I figured you were. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. And I'm also making homemade onion soup. So right now I'm just waiting for the onions to reduce, and this whole house smells like caramelized onions. It's amazing.
Good idea.
And hey,
I'll bake bread before he gets back. That way he doesn't smell the onions.
Tech, don't judge a man on his don't judge the man on his tea kettle, because I loaned somebody a coffee pot once, and by the time I got it back, it had its own ecosystem.
Yeah, you see, I don't loan out things I don't want back. I just give them away at that point.
Good, because there's plenty of opportunity for somebody to, I don't know, get antibiotics from it. But that's a whole other thing. Joe, thank you for being here and on time, I should say, because I'm going to blame the other two for not showing up on time. So
Yeah.
I didn't show up at all last week, so I'll say this much: don't knock the penicillin. But a big problem that I think we have today is that not enough people expose themselves. Oh, you know what? Allow me to rephrase that. Not enough people get exposure to bacteria and such. And like George Carlin himself, I reminisce about the old days where we tempered our immune systems in literal shit.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind that way. Brigid, thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure that we will have much to discuss when we get done.
Oh, we will, and I will be updating the blog as soon as I am able to, put things into a clean format to, offer, some context as to what the issues are, and it's not going to be a call-out kind of a thing that is not needed. Things, are okay, just do not cause any harm after, to anyone right now. Because reasons, and more will be divulged as I am comfortable sharing, and so do be looking for the blog to have an update as soon as I am able to compile different bits and pieces coherently and give an update. But everything is okay. There are some things going on that I'd rather not divulge publicly, and there are reasons, and just accept that at face value and do nothing. Okay.
How very Hippocratic of you.
Exactly, because that is the hat that I do best. I do it well, and that is also a coping mechanism for me. And so I'm juggling several things at one time. I'm doing very, very well considering, and that is my niche, and that is why I'm here.
Fair enough. Thank you, hon.
You're welcome, and I'm sorry that some of it was kind of messy, but there are reasons, and they are good ones, but the world does not need to know at this point what they are.
Fair enough.
It's like masturbation. It can get really messy.
Yes, it can.
Now, Heretic Woman.
Yes.
You've got things that you are going to be doing soon, like in a day or so.
Well, in a day. Oh, well, I have a birthday party to go to tomorrow.
Congratulations. This makes you, what, 53?
39?
I've already dropped one F-bomb, buddy.
And I've used several over more than I used.
It's our good friend Philip's 30th birthday. Yes, who's an ex-JW, so he hasn't got to celebrate many birthdays. So and he's a new dad just before Christmas, so we're just gonna go and chill out with him and his fiance.
So his life is just spiraling out of control.
Well, it's funny. Our good friend Greg that I was hanging out with tonight, he kind of, because he got out of being a JW and he joined the local Toronto atheist group, and he ended up with our other good friend Kristalla. They've been together for a couple of years now. They just had a baby. They're engaged, and my friend Greg says that, you know, Phil's like a guy who just got his first driver's license, and not only did he end up with a Ferrari for his first car, but he knew how to drive the Ferrari. So yeah, because Kristalla is a lovely lady, and they're very lovely together, and she's a little bit older than him, so we just kind of joke about it. It's like first try out of the gate, lands himself a hot fiance and a new baby. So way to go, Phil. He's turning 30. So that's tomorrow. I'm headed to Calgary in 2 weeks.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good reason.
I'm gonna go. Well, I got to see Dalan last week.
Oh no,
because he was here, and then I'm gonna go sleep on his couch for a weekend. So that's fun. See the Alberta Secular Conference. So I'm excited about that, because Calgary will be the furthest west I have ever been, like ever anywhere. So that's exciting. Unless you count, like, if you count like going to Romania from the opposite direction, maybe you could call that west. I don't think
Korea is the farthest west I've been, and you know, I went so far west I had to go east.
Exactly. There you go.
Fair enough.
So there's that.
But you got a show to do, don't you?
Yeah, we don't actually have anything specific planned this week, so I'm up in the air whether I want to take a week off or not. We'll see. So,
okay.
It's one of those deals where, you know, we didn't have a guest lined up yet, and Morgan's up to her eyeballs in finals and prepping for, you know, writing the bar. So she's kind of offline for a bit, and so we'll see if Beth has anything she wants to delve into, or if I'm feeling lazy. But you know, we've got lots. If you want to see our show that we did about incels with Dr. Schloss, that's of course up on the YouTube channel. As I said, we were absolutely floored when I got off the air and found out that this guy was claiming to be an incel, and I messaged Dr. Schloss right away. And I'm sorry I have to drop this, but he said, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
all I can comment is, Doctor, I mean, no disrespect, but it does sound like a euphemism. Like I just had a session with, you know, Dr. Jägermeister.
Yeah, Dr. Schloss. Yeah. He does.
Dr. Weihenstiff. You read it. Weidenstoffer. Schleigelhofer.
Weinstefaner. Weinstefaner.
That's the only piece I remember.
Weinstefaner.
I don't know, but anyway.
Ich liebe mein Flammenwerfer.
Yeah, so we'll get the link and we'll drop it in the show notes so that everybody can see that.
We were, and the weird thing is, we actually talked about the van attack at the beginning of the show, and we were just kind of saying, yeah, it's really, you know, tempting to say it's probably another Islamic extremist, but we don't know and we shouldn't speculate. And I think I said, for all we know, it could be some guy who, you know, his partner cheated on him and found them on the sidewalk and went after them. We don't know. And then to find that out was just like, are you kidding me? Like, we had that show planned a good 3 weeks in advance. And just because I thought it was something that we should be aware about, and lo and behold, I was very right.
Unfortunately.
For sure. And of course, you can always check out my lovely Quran reading at fullquranic.com. Because, you know, the Quran's always a barrel of laughs, too.
True enough.
Because, you know, we know Allah just loves women, too. Not so much.
Yeah. There's a really bad joke I'm not going to make right now. We'll deal with it later. Damn it. Joey's going to understand this and appreciate this. This is not one of those setups where I can turn off the stream and turn on the mic for just the hosts and not have it go out for everybody. So I can't go ahead and say it. Damn it. It's a whole thing. Anyway, we gotta get out of here because we're dragging our feet on this one at this point. So thank you for being part of it all. If you'd like to become part of the group that just listens to us, please take a swing over to holycrapthevlogcast.com, and over on the left-hand side, you will see the link for the audio-only podcast version. Thank you, Dalan, for all the stuff that you end up doing on that. And if you would like, all of our social media links are also over there. If you'd like to leave an email, if you'd like to leave a voicemail message, I should say, you can use the line at 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. We'll be looking forward to talking to you guys again next week. Best of my knowledge, everything should be on. There's stuff that's going to be going on I need to keep track of because there's stuff, but we will see what happens. Anyway, all you guys that were over there in the live chat, thank you very much. Trippin, I did see that you were over there. Stephanie, I don't remember if I greeted you or not, but hi and bye. And TD, thank you very much for hanging out with us for a little bit. And yes, apparently Blue Moon is worthwhile. I have never drunk a white Belgian before. I don't know that I'm going to make a habit of it, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So you all have a good laugh at that. In the meantime, we'll be seeing you guys soon. Please take good care of yourselves and please be safe out there. With everything else, we're a little worried. But in the meantime, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And, of course, as always, for my lady, too damn long. I'm still in love with you. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night.